Assalamu alaikum. Good day, everyone. I'm glad to welcome all of you to this interview session. I'm Nahil Forest Valley, and today we have the pleasure of hosting a truly remarkable individual, Mrs. Sasha. Mrs. Sasha's journey is an inspiring one as she had made a significant contribution to society and has been involved in diverse projects ranging from growing the Ghanaian agriculture sector to developing as a space suit textile coating for preventing lunar dust abrasion. Currently, she is combining material science with energy storage while also exploring various fascinating technologies from biomimicry and to quantum physics. On top of all her incredible achievement, she is an avid running and biking enthusiast. Without further ado, let's delve into Miss Sasha's life journey, her experience, patience, and insights. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Sasha. So, welcome, Miss Sasha. How are you?
Yeah, thank you so much for that awesome intro. So excited to be here. I'm doing fantastic. What about you?
How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. What about you? Yeah.
I'm fine. Thank you so much. I'm doing great. So, first of all, please introduce yourself for my viewers.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Sasha. I think Manaha already did a fantastic job of introing me, but I'm 15 years old. I live in Canada and I'm super interested
Can you
in
hear me?
material science.
All right, great. I'm also 15 years old.
Oh, awesome. That's super nice.
All right. So, my first question is, can you tell us? Thank you. So, my first question is, can you tell us more about your experience working on projects in Ghanaian agriculture sector? What were some of the challenges you encountered, and how did you address them?
Yeah, of course. So I'm in a program called TKS, which is basically a human accelerator program for teens. And through TKS, we got to work on a consulting challenge, and we got to work alongside the Mastercard Foundation, which is essentially a big, massive charity. Um, so we got like a problem statement, and it was like increasing jobs in Africa. So yeah, we took that and we were like looking at the different countries we could have chose, and we picked Ghana because it has a decent political stability and it was also super interesting. And then in terms of what challenges we faced, it was definitely really hard to understand the sector. So we were working in agriculture, so we had to learn a lot about how the sector works and what problems were. And we tried to do that by reaching out to people, but unfortunately, not many people in Ghana are on platforms like LinkedIn or other ways, so it's hard to contact them. So I'd definitely say that was another big challenge. Um, and then yeah, like my team, I remember everybody was so busy, so it was definitely super tough to get a decent project out, but I'm pretty happy with our deck that we came up with, and overall it was a super interesting experience, and everybody we talked to was so nice and helpful as well. So yeah.
All right, thank you so much for your answer. So now let's move on to next question. My next question is developing a space suit textile coating for preventing lunar dust abrasion sound fascinating. Could you elaborate on the material and technologies you utilize in this project and how they contribute to astronaut safety during lunar missions?
Yeah, for sure. So great question. So I've been working on this project with my friend Kirthana, which is, as you mentioned, a spacesuit textile coating for EVA spacesuits to prevent lunar dust abrasion. So we were like looking into what problems existed, and we found that lunar dust is a pretty significant one because it can cause like thermal control problems, visibility issues, mobility issues. It can scratch through the spacesuit, and which costs money, and then it's also really toxic. So we wanted to see how we might be able to like solve that issue. So we thought, well, a coating would be a pretty good way to go. And we made like this massive matrix of all these materials that we could choose for like the various properties we needed. And eventually we came down to thermoplastics, specifically ATSP and PTFE. I think ATSP stands for aromatic thermosetting polymer, and then I'm pretty sure PTFE stands for polyethylene tetrafluorine, something like that. Could be messing those up. But basically, we use that as our like main polymer composite, and then we put carbon nanotubes inside that composite to provide a bit of conductivity. So the like overall uh, idea for a textile was to have something that was abrasion resistant to prevent the dust from scratching, and then also something that is able to be conductive because the lunar dust is actually charged, and that's one of the reasons it's such a concern because it has an electric charge which will make it stick to the spacesuit. So we want to generate a like charge to repel it. So in order to help with that, we actually looked at a technology which is called PLZT. I don't even know what this stands for. I'm sorry, but yeah. So we're actually modifying that in a slight way, but essentially the idea is to have like something that has an opposite charge, and then the surface
All
that
right.
has a like charge, so that you're able to like hover that dust off. So yeah, that's kind of the basis of it. But me and Kithana are working on building this out right now, so very excited to see where that project goes.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing. So, my next question is that you're currently working on combining material science with energy storage. Can you share some insight into the potential applications and benefits of this interdisciplinary approach?
Yeah, for sure. So these are both something that I've had like interest in for a while now. And specific like the most relevant example that I can think of to share right now is like lithium ion batteries. So lithium ion batteries are like in your phone, computer, car, whatever. They're awesome. They're like the top level battery. But when you look at things like getting access to materials, the materials are super expensive, and they're sometimes mined in like ethically, like unethical ways. So they're kind of not like that great from a sustainability perspective. So there are other types of batteries being developed, like sodium ion, lithium sulfur. I think a company called Scylla is doing something with silicon in there. So they're applying material science, which is like choosing different materials to use to create like a better battery because the batteries that they're coming up with, while they are still in development, they have like some of them, I think they have higher energy density. I think they're like somewhat safer. Yeah, but I don't know the exact specifics. But yeah, like it all comes down to like what materials you use and then making those like the best for the application. So another example, I'll just do this one really quickly, is like flywheels, which is basically like spinning like a wheel that like spins, and then that like can store energy as well. So in order to have a good flywheel, you need to be able to like reduce the friction on that to like let it not lose energy. And then you also need something that's like super strong. So that's kind of where materials come in as well, because you need like, for example, for the magnets to like levitate that flywheel as opposed to having like bearings, like mechanical bearings that would cause friction. Um, you would need like superconducting magnets, which are materials problem because right now they have to be kept at cryogenic temperatures, which makes them too expensive. But so yeah, I think there's a lot of problems in our world that come down to material science, and energy is just a sector that I find particularly interesting.
All right. Thank you so much for your amazing answer. That's great. So my next question is: it's impressive that you have an interest in exploring various technologies from biomimicry to quantum physics. How do you see these fields intersecting with material science and energy storage in the future?
Yeah, for sure. So, I think those fields specifically that you mentioned, like biomimicry and then quantum computing or quantum physics, intersect more with material science than they do with energy storage. But that's because like almost every single field intersects with material science. That's why I love it so much. Like even AI, because you need the computers to run your whatever, right? So I just think it's super interesting. So for quantum computing specifically, um, I don't know. I read somewhere that you would need like superconducting magnets or like something to superconductors to be able to run a quantum computer. So that's kind of interesting. And then in terms of biomimicry, this is basically like making stuff based on nature. So I saw this is a super cool example actually. There was like this rocket, and basically they 3D printed it, but this one piece they 3D printed it to be like a shell, like the grooves and stuff, because they found that that was the most like I don't know, aerodynamic or like strongest like release material, something like that. But that definitely plays a huge role in material science because like if you look at like even like a crab, like their shell is made out of I don't remember what it's made of, but it's made out of this material that despite being like not that strong, it's arranged in such a way that makes their shell insanely tough. So material science definitely intersects like very well with biomimicry, which is definitely something that I'm going to need to explore further. I think her internet has dropped, so hopefully she will be back soon.
I'm sorry, Miss Sasha, my internet
No,
problem.
yeah, no worries at all. I
So
completely
can I
understand.
ask the next question?
Yeah, of course, of course.
So, as an enthusiast for running XC plus track and biking, how do you manage to balance your passion for sports with your professional endeavors?
Yeah, so I think this is something that you develop like over time because humans will kind of always find a way to be busy. So as you just keep getting more and more stuff, obviously there's a point where it becomes too much. You like figure out a way to manage, and I think it's also a matter of like prioritizing like what's important to you. Like for me, that doing that like running, that biking, that like physical training to be in like good like physical shape is really important to me. So I like make time for that. Like I literally go on my calendar and I'm like, here I'm gonna run, here I'm gonna bike. So I like make sure it happens. And I also think that another big like really big key into it is being effective with your work. So as opposed to working for like 8 hours, just like straight out grind 8 hours, because by the time that's the end of that 8 hours, you're probably not like the work that you produce is probably not going to be that high quality. So instead, trying to work for like a smaller amount of time, like maybe 1 or 2 hours, but then getting a lot more done in that time. And then that gives you like more time to like relax, do whatever else you want to do. So I think those are probably the two biggest things I would say.
Alright, that's great. So, with your diverse background in different fields, how do you stay updated on the latest advancement and breakthroughs in material science, energy storage?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that I'm the most up to date. I do have like newsletters that I try to stay up to date on, like the newest advancements or that sort of thing. And I also find it really helpful like talk to like experts who are working in the field. Like I recently spoke to somebody working at Lighton, which is a battery company. And he was like telling me all the stuff they were working on, and like through that I kind of learned that there was like all these cool different battery techs that I hadn't heard about. So I think that talking to people is also another really good way to get like that front hand knowledge, especially because like the technologies they're working on might be like something that's going to be like 5 years of work. So there might not be papers out yet. So yeah, I definitely say that talking to people, and then yeah, just trying to like learn as much as you can and explore, like take go where your interests take you.
All right. So my next question is, could you share a specific project or accomplishment that you are particularly proud of and explain what it holds significant for you?
Yeah, of course. So I think I'm gonna actually talk about our like this is our TKS end of year project. So it was called Moonshot, which is the concept of like instead of saying how can we improve this 10%, how can we improve it 10 times? So it's a super exciting concept, and there's actually a company doing this. It's called I think it's just called like X, the Moonshot Factory now. It like stemmed from Google, but yeah, so through that, my group, we wanted to look into something. I think we were considering between like water, CO2 emissions, or like energy. And we ended up coming to like lithium ion batteries because I kind of mentioned this before. Like the sustainability of lithium ion batteries is really bad because of like the toxins they produce when you dispose of them, the way the materials are sourced, all that stuff. So you'd want to recycle those, right? But right now, only like 5% are recycled because the process is really bad. And as we learned more, we realized that most of it came down to disassembly. So disassembling the battery is basically taking your battery and then over like a course of like a couple steps, well, two main steps and like a bunch of sub steps, breaking it down into like the material, like the lithium, the separator, like all that stuff. So right now that's done actually manual, literally the worst thing possible. It's like dangerous, ineffective, and like really slow and expensive as well. So we wanted to automate that process, and we actually came up with a solution that would disassemble the batteries like 73% cheaper and 10 times faster, I believe. So that was super exciting because, yeah, in terms of significance, it was a cause that I'm really passionate about because that project kind of led me into the material science energy storage combo because I found like working on that like just really excited me. And also, it's like a massive problem that like not a lot of people know about because it's so niche, but it has insane impacts. So it's definitely super exciting to work on it because there's not that many people working on it right now. So, yeah.
All right, thank you so much for sharing. So my next
Yeah.
question is, in your opinion, what are some of the most promising advancement or innovations in energy storage that have the potential to revolutionize various industries?
Yeah, so obviously I have to talk about the lithium ion battery again. This is a common trend, as you can see. Um, But I think that all these like next gen battery techs that are coming out, like lithium sulfur, lithium with silicon, solid state, like all these next gen battery techs, I think those could be really exciting for the future. I don't know like enough to touch on any specifics, but I think those would be exciting. And then yeah, I think that okay, batteries are definitely going to be play a key role. Um, Something else, I don't know if this is actually feasible or not yet. I need to definitely look more into it. But I've found that like superconductors, right? Like they basically have no electrical resistance. So you could theoretically store energy in them as well. So I don't know, that could be exciting, but we'd have to get them to be room temperature superconductors, which is very challenging. So I don't know, that might be a bit more of like a farther in the future. But definitely I would say like the variations on lithium ion batteries.
Okay, all right. So how do you approach problem solving in your project? Can you share an example of a challenging problem you faced at the step you took to find solutions?
Yeah, of course. So, I'd say the biggest way I like to approach problems is kind of this like first principles approach, which is literally adopted from TKS, but like taking your problem and then breaking it down into the most fundamental thing, like the root cause of your problem. Like you literally do a root cause analysis. You write like your problem statement. You're like, um, for the like Ghanaian example, Ghanaian agriculture sector is decreasing. And they're just like, why? Why? And generally, if you ask why 5 times, you'll be able to find a root cause. So that's a super helpful way, because then when you find the root cause, it's like, oh, well, how do we solve that? And then it'll eventually work its way back up and solve the big problem. Um, and then in terms of an example, as I was working on this spacesuit project with Kirthana, we had our whole matrix, right? And then we're like, oh, maybe this. And then we realized like this actually this is like going in space, right? Like this has to be able to withstand the environment of space, which is quite harsh. Like it's like a vacuum, it's like hot and cold, like extreme temperatures. It's got like all these crazy things. So we're like, none of these materials can survive it, because as I kind of mentioned, you need like that electrical conductivity for the creating the charge, right? But the thing is, most materials, if you want them to be electrically conductive, they're also thermally conductive, which is bad, because then that would basically mean that you would melt the spacesuit. So we had to take like a creative solution, like I mentioned with the carbon nanotubes. So and like to how we got there, we looked at our matrix, we're like, none of this is gonna work, scrapped it. And then I like kind of looked more into how something might be thermally conductive, electrically insulating. And then the basic concept of it is that you need to scatter phonons, which carry heat, but let electrons continue to move. And these are things that carry electricity. So as we were researching, there was a super cool concept. It was like carbon nanotubes. So if you have them in a network, the phonons will be scattered because of the way that they're arranged, but the electrons won't, because of like the way they're a wave and the way they move through. So that's why we ended up choosing carbon nanotubes. But yeah, I definitely say that understanding the root cause is probably the best way to solve the problem.
All right, that's great. So, collaboration and communication are vital in interdisciplinary work. How do you foster effective collaborations among team members with different backgrounds and expertise?
Yeah, so that's definitely a very like important question as well, and definitely a hard question too. A lot of the project I've worked on, a lot of our team members were super busy, so it was definitely really challenging. But I'd say that some of the most important things are to be like very aligned onto what everybody's priorities are, because then you can sort of like understand, oh, this person needs to focus on school, so I'm like going to be a bit more like understanding if they're not able to like get their work done or something like that. And I also think that I think daily syncs are really helpful. My team, we tried to do daily syncs a couple times, but we weren't able to stay that consistent with it. Um, but yeah, I'm reading a book sort of about this now, and essentially like you want to create a good environment that people want to be in. Like you want to inspire people, like give them energy. So instead of like criticizing the work, you probably want to like encourage them more, and be just like make it fun, because when people actually want to work on like whatever you're working on because they care about the cause, they find the work fun, they like are dedicated to it, it'll just be a much more enjoyable experience, and the work that they produce will probably be a lot better.
All right. So, looking ahead, if you had the chance to travel to space and experience life on the moon for a day, what would be the first thing you'd want to do or explore?
Okay, so I don't know. I think this is just like a weird thing that I have, but I actually don't want to go to space. I don't know. Maybe it's just because like only a few people have gone. Maybe it's because I don't know that much about like astrophysics or anything. But given the opportunity, I might turn it down. But let's assume that I went. I would definitely want to look back on the Earth and see where I came from, because I've heard that like it's so crazy to just look back and see just this tiny dot where your entire world is. So I think that would definitely be something I want to see. And then I don't know if this is true, but I heard that the sunrises are super pretty on the moon. So I definitely want to see that. Above all, just experience the sights, and then obviously have so much fun in the gravity. Like that would be awesome.
All right, great answer. So, as we come to the end of this fascinating conversation, I want to extend my heartful gratitude to Miss Sasha for sharing her inspiring and insight with us today. From her impactful projects in Ghanaian agriculture sector to her groundbreaking work on spacesuit textile coating, Miss Sasha's dedication to exploring innovative technology on her passion for material science and energy storage is truly commendable. We have the gained valuable knowledge about the intersection of various fields and the potential they hold for shaping our future. Miss Sasha enthusiasm for running and biking also remind us of the importance of balancing our passions and interests, even amidst the groundbreaking world. Thank you, Miss Sasha, for your time and inspiring stories you shared with us today. Your accomplishments serve as an inspiration to aspiring scientists and engineers everywhere. We wish you continued success and eagerly look forward to witnessing the impact of your future endeavors. And to all our viewers, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope this interview has been as insightful and inspiring for us as it has been for us. Stay curious, stay dedicated, and continue exploring the world of possibilities that lie ahead. Thank you so much, Miss Sasha.
Thank you so much for having me and for your wonderful questions.
Thank you. Bye. Have a wonderful day ahead.
Yeah, you as well. You as well.